A very good morning to you. Here's Mr. Sammy Bear, who's become a bit of a mummy's boy recently. Of course, we understand why. And so he's getting lots of attention, and he's now beginning to turn his nose up at the various foods on offer. What can we do? What can we do? Not a lot, except just go with the flow. Because we all know where cats are concerned, we have no control whatsoever. So he's making his way back in, I think, to my bedroom to spend much of the morning dossing on my bed. But he is a beautiful boy. Aren't you, Sammy Bear? Beautiful boy. Got to talk silly to him. Then when I talk silly to him, Jackie boy gets all silly too. Don't you, Jack? Yes. Well, you've had your crackers this morning. You've had your little treat, so don't be a high maintenance boy. We've got one high maintenance boy here, and that's probably enough. Probably enough. Yes. So I'm just going to take my coffee, which I've managed to cut down now to well, I still have 1, possibly 2 cups a day, but I was having sugar in it. So I've managed to cut it down now that it only has a tiny, tiny little bit of a teaspoon of sugar in it. So I'm almost there. It's a very still morning, and I think it's quite early. It's about 8:30, something like that. I did a bit of pruning here on the Cotoneaster yesterday. I have a lot more to do because it's got very high. You can see the branches going up, and it is sort of a cross between an ornamental bush and tree. So I don't want it to get too high, so I will be giving that a little bit of a prune later. And I've been putting some oats into the bird feeder, so I'll top those up, because the little birds now are fairly hungry because they're molting. They're going through their seasonal molt. And yesterday when I was walking around the gardens, I seen feathers hither and thither. So I think I might just sit down here, although it's a little bit wet. This is a bit of a drizzle. Well, more of a mizzle. It's a mizzle at the moment. You can see I've cleared up along the side of the cottage and up, right up to the corner of the lodge. So there was a lot of ash trees beginning to come up, you know, alongside the wall there, which I've had to take out, because the ash trees are hardwood trees and they grow very prolifically. Thank goodness they do grow prolifically, because, well, you all know from the pictures that are up on the website, the before and after pictures of what Bealtaine Cottage looked like at the beginning, when there was no self-seeding going on from the ash trees, because of course there were animals on the land, and when you have grazing animals on the land, be it cows or sheep or goats, you're not going to have seedling trees coming up, because they're very juicy and tender and make good forage. So the animals aren't to know. But it is one of the huge problems now, of course, in the 21st century on planet Earth. It's the amount of livestock, and that is animals that we eat, or animals that we use for milk. Massive amount of livestock on the land, on the lands everywhere, and a huge amount of trees are being cut down in order to provide land for these animals, because of course there's money in meat, and there's money in dairy. And so there's less and less land which is able to regenerate. It's absolutely impossible for land to regenerate when it's under grazing. And if you look at the moorlands, if you look at the mountains, where there is basically no life other than the grazing animals on them, especially here in the British Isles, those tracts of land are just totally devoid of trees. So therein lies the biggest problem that humanity has to come face to face with and sort out. Really is. And this beautiful flowering plum. And of course also, which few people really want to talk about because it means having to change attitudes and whatever. But change, of course, is the key word. Change is the key word in this age of Aquarius. And if we can adapt and change, then I do believe all will be well. But the biggest cause of CO2, rising CO2 levels, and thus, greenhouse gases and global warming, excuse me, sneezing, is livestock. Now, the birds are beginning to sing again. I think it's coming to the end of their moulting. And so this lovely energy of song is happening. Now, I'm looking up here at this cotoneaster and it's absolutely covered. Covered like I've never seen it covered before in berries. That's usually the sign of a hard winter to come. I don't think I've ever seen it this profuse in berries. And there's a massive amount of berries now dropping onto the ground as well. And this cotoneaster, I'll just give you the spread of it here. So if you look at it from there, it's going all the way round, up and over, right into the apple tree itself. That will need a little bit of pruning, just a little bit, especially on this side where it's near the apple tree. And it's covered, smothered in berries. And of course, that's also the sign of a very healthy land, because it means that during the spring there were lots and lots of pollinators, and by the look of all those berries, probably more pollinators than ever before here at Bealtaine, because every single flower had to be pollinated in order to create one of those beautiful berries. Now I'm going to make this video very short again, try to keep it to under 10 minutes. Yesterday was 5 and a bit, and managed to get that uploaded in about half an hour. So I'm thinking to myself that today's video, if it's 10 minutes, will take about an hour. So I'm going to walk back towards the cottage and wish you all a lovely Monday morning. For many of you, of course, it's the start of a working week. Here in the west of Ireland, it's the last day of the bank holiday. So we have lots of bank holidays here in Ireland. The Irish, the Irish like their long weekends. They like to party on down, you know. It's quite funny, really. But regardless, the work gets done. So blessings to you all.